haven't been able to walk around. What's the highlight for you guys? What have you seen?
Right here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the right answer.
Fantastic. So how do the questions work? Do we just field them like this? Is that
That seems good enough for me.
You told me you were professional.
We are professionals. I'm letting
Dancer, professional dancer. I'll be at Jiggles tonight from 10 p.m. to midnight. Please stop by.
Everyone's gonna stop by.
half the people are like, is he?
This is viable.
Shoot.
So, we were talking a little bit earlier about how Eureka is one of those shows that didn't talk down to the audience when it came to the science. They just carried on their conversations as if everybody knew what they were talking about. So I'm wondering, in playing your roles on the show, did you guys actually learn something you didn't know before about physics, space, anything that the show covered?
Almost everything that Zane said, I had no idea what he was talking about. So yeah, I had to look up everything. Pretty much every single one of my lines I had to look up. So I learned a lot while I was filming the show.
My character was in med school, so I learned a lot too.
I think for most of us it was the same thing, because the writers and producers took it very seriously and they did a ton of research, but then we would just get scripts, and so you would always be like, oh, what is this? And you look around and there'd be everybody would sort of have wide eyes, and you're like, and this was like before all our phones had Google and stuff on it. So
Oh yeah, what is it?
We had to go home and go
Get the books.
Hit the library.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
My lines were like, what? What's that? Yeah.
Which is served him well at night.
I see those guys suffer on like these giant long tracks of dialogue, and they get through it, and I go, what? Right after.
Why couldn't you just say death ray?
Colin ordering lunch was a scene from Eureka today. What? How many sides do I get?
4 sides with what?
Is the hot dog a side?
Yeah.
The hot dog was not a side.
Yeah, but they let us cash in 4 sides for a hot dog today.
I didn't get a water, but Jordan gave me her water, so I basically got 2 entrees and an extra water.
Basically, you can't take us anywhere. We'll mess up any system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all those guys quit. That's why no one else got lunch.
Yeah. And he made a call. The poor guy's like, I'll make a call for you.
He got fired.
Yeah.
Boss got fired. And they're out of hot dogs. So.
Yeah. What's the next question?
You guys got questions.
Shoot.
What made you guys want to do this con?
Well, San Diego. For a while.
Yeah.
It's a 2-hour drive. Yeah, that's great.
We also hadn't been together in a very long time. I know I haven't seen these two in forever. And they're all like dads now, and it's super weird, everyone's like all grown up.
Yeah, we did a bunch of cons right after the show ended, but you do burn out. I mean, it's so it's nice to sort of say it. So when they said, oh, would you come for a little reunion? We were like, yeah.
The timing's great because the show has never been streaming, so it's a thing where a lot of people aren't even really aware of the show. It's more of a sort of like just real fans of the show, but for years, very culty. And when you're back out looking for jobs and being on other shows, and people, you start talking about the work you've done. I was on the series in Vancouver called Eureka for a while. So people haven't even heard of it because it wasn't. It doesn't stream. It doesn't. The reruns aren't on Sci-Fi. Where was it? Was it playing on Hulu for a while?
No, it was on Netflix. One season, just the first season was on Netflix, but now the whole series is on Amazon Prime now.
Which I think is actually going to be really huge for the show.
I've got a lot of like new fans coming through on Twitter and everywhere. It's like, I just discovered the show, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, that's because you see it on social media where all of a sudden people are like, oh, I just saw the thing, and you're like, this is weird. You just that's a delay, and you're like, oh, it's streaming. Okay.
And that'd be another issue for the show too. Is if we were all pre-social media for the most part. Twitter was just starting to get up. There was no Instagram. Facebook was just starting. I mean, literally, I think the first thing. What was the one before Facebook? What was it?
MySpace.
I
had a MySpace.
Yeah, it was like
What song was your
Temperature by Sean Paul.
All right.
I really thought it set the scene for my life, It did.
But yeah, having a show that sort of premiered pre-social media, you see how hard it is to play catch-up. Now where, I have friends who are on series that, nobody's seen, and they have millions and millions of followers because that's what the show reaches. And I'm sure Eureka has probably reached more than that over the last 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
But everything has changed. So it's timely for us to be here because it's a great time for the show to sort of have people have a renaissance with it, or people discover it for the first time.
Yeah, and also the you do cons in Germany and England and that it's exotic out of the gate. You're like, wow, I'm flying to Germany for the weekend, and then it quickly turns into I'm flying to Germany for the weekend.
For the weekend.
Yeah, you come back a wreck. So, yeah, for sure.
No, thank you.
What were your favorite moments while filming the show?
Watching Colin and his physical comedy.
Yeah, it's fun to watch me get hurt.
Yeah, it really is. We were talking about that earlier. We didn't realize it was such a
Yeah.
popular thing.
My favorite moment would have been when I got to play Carter, Colin's character, when we did when we swapped bodies.
I remember you just shot a scene as me, and you come in, you're like, you furrow your brow, so I have a headache.
But you did it though.
Yeah, totally. You're like, it hurts. I was like, it does. You gotta build up that muscle.
That Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, no, doing impressions of each other was definitely a highlight. That was really fun. And also launching the show, that was a highlight. I mean, to create 13 episodes in a vacuum and then throw them out to the world. And we were actually at a convention. I think it was Comic-Con in San Diego. And and it was the first time it had ever aired, and we watched an audience watch it and get to jokes. And we were like, oh, it's hitting. Oh, this might work. And because you do it, and you're like, this could blow up in our face, because it was such a weird tone. It had drama and it had comedy, and the network wasn't sure what it was, and so.
And you got to realize, we're shooting in a vacuum, and it was the first season was so strange, and across the creek on the studio was Battlestar.
They were like the
cool kids and everybody. And I was a sycophant of the show and like hanging out with them on the weekends. They were like, so what's this show you're doing? And I'm like,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I think it's going to be really good. Colin and I would joke all the time that we were like, basically, well, what are we going to do after the show airs? And no one will ever hire us again because we're going to be unhireable because this show's going to be a train wreck. But there was also a bit of a, just a tiny bit that I really believed in what we were doing. And I remember the producers came, because they could tell we were a little uneven, and they came about episode 4 or 5, and they came and showed us the first couple episodes, rough cuts of them. And I saw it, and I go, there's something here. I don't know if anybody's gonna like it, but I'm proud of this and I love it.
It was different, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then Colin and I, we wrapped the show when we were driving down. So we drive to Vancouver, and we're driving back. It's a 2-day drive. And it was the greatest.
This was a highlight.
This is a highlight for me. It was the hottest heat wave in the history of Central California.
90 at 9, it was 100 at 10, it was 110 at 11, and by noon it was 120.
121. I mean, I'm not kidding you guys. I bought one of the Starbucks, ice, whatever the things. I'm driving a 10-year-old pickup truck. Colin is driving a 12-year-old.
What was that?
Oh, that was it was an Acura Integra teal.
Paint peeling off.
It was, it was missing everything.
It's missing it because in the Great Car Theft of '99, it like the AC had gotten stolen, the radiator got stolen, the side mirrors. So I found those, but they were a different color. And I like I never replaced the airbag, so I had 4 cast iron thrones. like right there. So I was like, I hope I don't hit anything.
Yeah, riding past through, you really didn't hit anything.
We're driving these 2 hunks of metal down the I-5. I have a Starbucks cup, and when your engine starts to overheat.
Oh, hold on, wait, you gotta go back to weeds.
What were the weeds?
Weeds where you filled up at the mom and pop gas station.
Oh no, I got back before that, when you got the flat tire.
Oh,
you got a flat tire. And I just said, I gotta get gas, and I'm also melting in the sun, and so the guy was coming to change his tire, so he could meet me in the next town.
Yeah.
And my gas gauge got so low that I pulled off in Weeds, Oregon?
Northern California.
Oh, we're in Northern California. And I filled up with this, and it was one of those moments I just knew that this was gonna screw me, and it was half gas and half just sediment. So the next day, by the time we get down to, the Starbucks cup, I'm not lying. So you turn on your heater and it brings the heat off the engine. The Starbucks cup melted plastic all over. That's how hot it was. I mean, it's in the record books. So
and I turned on my heat in solidarity. in my car. So I was
Yes.
like, if you're running the heat, I'll run the heat on.
Well,
we were so angry.
We were so angry,
So
but then,
angry.
and then all of a sudden, I'm trying to call him, but he's like, he goes, wait, Iris is calling. We have the same agent, so he's on a call, and I'm driving behind him, and I'm just talking on the phone, and I'm watching him, and he puts down the phone, and I pick up the phone to call him, and my phone rings. It's my agent to tell us that the reviews of the show just came out, and they're outstanding. Variety, Hollywood Reporter, people, the press got the show, they love it, and they think it's now being projected to be and it was the highest rated premiere in the history of the Sci-Fi Network, still is. And
Woo.
Colin and I pull off in the middle of nowhere because my truck's overheating, and now his car's actually overheating. And we're both there. We don't have any water. We don't know how. And both our hoods are up on these old cars, and we're covered in sweat. We're in the middle of nowhere, and we're like, "Show's good, dude."
We should get new cars.
And we did. We both.
I did.
I
Second
wish
season,
that-
I came back with a new Prius.
All that Sally too. Everybody, like, we all basically. I wish I had a picture of like season 1 and all the jalopies we were driving. Season 2, I'm just there in that F-150 leather. Ciao.
I remember when the flat tire though was that I was in the fast lane going 80, and like you're seeing your tires starting to fly. Like, this isn't gonna end well.
Yeah. And it's hitting me. It's hitting me in the back. I'm like, pull over.
Yeah. So it was really a show about the people more than anything else. I think they got so lucky they cast this group of people who had a similar philosophy, a similar morality, a similar series of ethics, and we just all got along so well that I think that is a lot of what came across. Shoot.
So you mentioned, Jordan, that you started, when you started working on Eureka, you were 14.
13.
13. So how did that come about? Had you worked before? How did you get into the show?
I had done a Disney Channel movie called Go
Go
Figure. It was
Figure.
an ice skating movie.
You have to find it.
It's nowhere. You'll never find it.
She's such a good skater, she starts playing hockey.
I was 13. It was the first thing I booked. And I just came off Disney Channel. And then, it was like pilot season. I was auditioning for all these pilots. And I was actually just telling him the story yesterday. I think that I had 3 offers that pilot season. And I was just a kid, but I was just like, this Eureka one, I don't know. Like, I just have a feeling about it. My agent's like, you're not going to turn on the network one for this? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I just like it. So I took a chance, and thank God I did, because those other 2 pilots did not go. But I don't know. I think we tested, and I actually tested with Colin.
Yeah.
And we just immediately clicked. We just got it. We got each other. And I was like, Mom, that's the guy from Coupling.
That's funny.
And she was like, and I just started watching. I was like, he's gonna book this. And there was like 6 guys there, and I just knew it because he was just perfect.
Well, the last one, it was Ed. What's his name? Ed from Sisters. Anyone remember that guy? Ed. No, Ed Keen?
Wait,
Ed
something
Kern.
like that. Yeah,
Ed Kern,
Ed Kern.
He was like the guy who, when I'd go up against him, I knew I wasn't gonna get it.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, it's Ed's here.
Goodbye.
Yeah, I will get it. So he shows up, and I'm like, oh, again? Are you kidding? And then this one went my way.
No, so yeah, it was just everyone. It's like he said, like from the get-go, everyone just was on the same page, and we all just wanted to make a good show.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up on that show, so it was really.
Yeah. And because we all, and still do, share sort of this philosophy and ethics and all that stuff, we got the tone. Because we could play the drama and make it back to the comedy because we understood it. And we went through so many producers and so many directors, we would keep them in line frequently about like, no, it's got it. And we all got it. We just understood it. So it was good casting.
Good job.
Yeah. Questions? Anyone? You can make something up. We'll answer.
Oh, I have. I could take over the whole panel asking questions.
Well, that's a crazy story, let me tell you. I forgot to call Colin when I was choosing wardrobe.
Yeah, mine's long sleeve though.
Yes. He doesn't have guns.
Together again.
Yeah.
Not Eureka, obviously. We'll take that out. What kind of a thing would you like to do together?
Half hour,
Sitcom.
multi-camera.
Multi-camera.
Yeah. Short days.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Unanimous.
I mean, Also, the schedule is just amazing when you're on.
3 weeks on, 1 week off. Don't mind if I do.
Yeah, well, we like making jokes, and
Yeah,
I'd like
sure.
to do a single camera thing or maybe a single camera like The Office. It's something easy and fun, and we had such a good time. We'd like to continue doing that. I think. Yeah.
Speak for
Well,
yourself.
yeah, exactly.
Speak for yourself.
Now it's
No,
like MMA because I could take him.
Colin and I actually did something together shortly after Eureka.
Yeah, your show.
Yeah, Primeval.
Yeah.
Yeah, Colin came up and did Primeval with us.
Yeah, did you guys see the North American remake of Primeval? He's the lead of it.
Yeah. And Colin came up and did an episode of that.
Yeah.
And we were rivals.
Yes.
So that was
I went
like
back in
real
time
life.
to ride dinosaurs.
And his character actually had the car that I had put a deposit down on. I'm really good at giving money and then...
Yeah, this has been a recurring theme talking about you just giving money away.
I'm realizing this today.
Yeah.
I lose a lot of money.
Forget Tesla, this Fisker is going to be the thing.
Well, because the Fisker Karma, they took a $5,000 deposit, and I was like, okay, cool.
Only
yeah.
5?
So I shelled that over, and then I knew something was wrong when they asked for another 45 as a deposit. I was like, wait a second, I don't think I'm going to get my car. So I didn't fall for the 45, but we get to the show, and Colin is driving a Fisker Karma, so that's the only Fisker Karma I ever have had the pleasure of sitting in, and his character, who was my rival on the show.
He was just taunting you with
It
it.
was taunting me with it.
Actually, I just made a movie myself, and I called Colin, and I was like, hey, can you come play a cop real quick for me? And my
I
dad,
wouldn't know how.
my dad is actually a police officer, so we have extra uniforms, and they both played cops in my movie together, so we have worked together since.
Yeah, exactly.
And you brought a lot of comedy to the scene that could have been really flat, so thank you.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Yeah, for sure.
What's the name of your movie?
It's called Breaking and Exiting. We actually just got distribution, so it'll be out August 17th.
Where is it going to be out?
Select theaters. Thank you. I've been writing since I was probably 13, and then this was my first screenplay that I was like, I got it made, I produced it.
She's a good writer. She'd written a lot of movies and
Thank
shows and
you.
stuff that
He's
were.
not usually this nice to me.
No.
But yeah, just the one.
Yeah, we'll all be working for her.
Yeah.
That's
No, I can't. But yeah, it just got distribution, so it'll be select theaters. So mostly it's gonna be streaming like all movies now. So iTunes, that sort of thing, DirecTV. Breaking and Exiting. It's a play on Breaking and Exiting.
What?
Oh, spoiler alert.
Didn't see it coming.
I'm sorry.
So the show never really explained what the artifact was, and Nathan Stark was very obsessed with the artifact, thought it had the secrets of the world. What do you guys think the artifact was? What exactly was it supposed to be, and what was?
supposed to be from the Big Bang, and that was the beginning of all life, and that's how the show was supposed to end and reboot with the artifact and with them driving back into town. It was the whole show was supposed to be circular. This is going from season 1 from Andrew Cosby, the creator of it. But the artifact was sort of like the it was the touchstone of the Big Bang theory, of the Big Bang, of the beginning of all life in the universe and everything. And the whole idea is that when I figured it out, the last scene was supposed to be me pushing a button and the whole show rebooting, and the two of them driving in and seeing the other ones driving out.
Wow, that would have been great to have seen that. That would have been pretty awesome.
7 showrunners later, they got that whole through line sort of got lost. But so that's what it was supposed to be.
Wow. Okay.
I just learned that.
That's why you guys were driving out of town when you were driving into town.
I remember Andy saying that.
Those were your ghosts leaving in the new.
Well, we have that
cycle
also
of
again with us driving
Yeah.
by, but they tied it in a different way, I think, than it was originally supposed to be.
Yeah, but you said, we'll get to that another day. Which I
Yeah.
like because it implied that there was going to be a future after the show
Yeah.
was over. I like that for the characters.
Me too.
So then your character having died in that the machine.
So mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when they knew that they weren't going to be doing the show for like, or was that going to be fake? You were coming back. How would it be that at the end you would?
The show. The thing is the show every season would change all showrunners and
Yep.
would change all
Oh.
like so the original conceit of the show changed so many times, and by that point it was actually it had nothing to even do with me getting. I wasn't written out. There was a whole thing going on with contracts and then wanting to redo.
You also
contracts.
just had a son. I mean,
No, it was way before that.
Yeah,
The-
get after.
Yeah.
No, wasn't Heather pregnant when?
No, I wasn't even married.
I think you're wrong.
I'm gonna defer to Colin on this. No, it was.
Come to me for facts. Anytime you want the truth.
No, they were gonna reboot the show for the third time, and they wanted to redo my contract. But in the second season, like I'd already been, my character had changed so much. But basically, the reality of it was, I was supposed to spin off the show at the end of the second season into my own show that maybe dealt with a warehouse. So that was actually the original. Cause like after the first season, they came to me and we had these great, it was actually real. I loved this show so much. I loved the characters so much. And then at the end of the season 1, when it was so successful, there was just the talk of the greatest stuff that was supposed to happen. And it really kind of felt like this sort of Hollywood fairy tale. And then everybody who was writing that fairy tale was fired. And a whole bunch of new people came in and it went a whole different direction. And then it was gonna go a new different direction at the end of season 2. And they came to me and wanted my character to take a step back contractually for like basically go from all shows to half the shows in season 3, 70% of the shows in season 4, and all the shows again in season 5. But I kind of asked them what their idea was. Well, where are you guys going to go with it? And the new people who were hired to do the show, the real keepers of the soul of the show were the cast. I mean, I honestly mean that. Colin the most. I've never seen anybody work harder on any show. And I don't know how many shows and movies I've done. You can look on IMDb. I don't think I've seen anybody work half as hard as Colin did.
They worked as hard.
Yeah, Colin had a
Your hours alone were, I mean.
Yeah.
But not only that, but the scripts that we gave me, there was just so much money. This was all beyond us. This was all there was just so much fight going on behind the cameras and behind up in the studios and the network, and it was just a lot going on. And so when they came to me, I just said, guys, I signed on for 6 years. I'll stay. If you break my contract, I'm not coming back. So then they freaked out and they said, oh, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. And I said, I loved the character so much, and I realized I wasn't going to spin off, and it was never going to be like season 1. And I said, all right, I'll come back, and I'll do whatever you guys want, 4 or 5 episodes. But Stark dies, and he dies a hero. And his last line is, "See you around, Jack." And they said, fine, great. They signed off on it immediately, and and like people have talked about it, and I've read things, and that it was a creative choice, or that I quit the show. It was kind of like it wasn't a kind thing to say because it wasn't true.
It also makes you someone who quits shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
No, yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like,
That actor, he quits shows, which is just such a lie. And then when the show, the show almost got canceled, and season 3 bottomed out, and everybody who did that got fired. And then they rebooted the show again in season 4. And then I went back and did that 1 episode in season 4, and the new people were lovely, and these guys were having a great time. There wasn't any animosity at all. I was happy to, because I really did love that character and love that thing so much. And so I thought it was a great exit for the character. And the fans were pretty upset when the character left. Everybody knew it was a mistake the minute they did it. But that was the kind of thing when you have too many chiefs and you make a massive creative mistake like that, and you want to trade Stark for the sister and the fixer and some more special effects or something. I was like, oh, fine, fine. And so, yeah. So
yeah, it was. Oh, sorry. It was a lightsaber. I thought it was a hand.
Common mistake.
Coming in the heels of Battlestar Galactica, it's a funny thing because first season they kept saying to all of us, hey, stop making these jokes. It's not a comedy, it's a drama, because that had been their biggest success, was the darkness of Battlestar, and they really wanted to go into that.
Yeah.
But they kept writing the jokes, and so we were put in a position of, well, we're
not
either,
gonna not say the
we're
jokes.
either really dumb, or we have to play them like jokes, so we play them as jokes. And then because that was one of the things about the show that took off, it was funny that, season 2, it's a comedy. All of a sudden it was like, now you guys know it's a comedy. It's like,
Yeah. We've been aware of that.
But it was a really, but season 1 was a dark comedy, and it was the setups were so much darker, and there was a subtlety to it.
Yeah.
So then see the new team on season 2 are like, it's a comedy,
Yeah.
but we're not comedy
Capital K.
writers, so we're just gonna write you stuff and make it funny. It's like, all right. Yeah, so good. Yeah, kind of Colin had to write most of his jokes actually.
Actually, yeah, and I found that out right away as soon as I joined the cast, because I joined in season 2, episode 8. And my very first introduction with Colin, I think he knocked on my trailer, came inside and was like, this doesn't work, can you say this here? This line here has to shift up here, this line has to go away. If you drop that, can you do this? Give me this here, and then that's good, you got that.
Really polite though.
And he's like, by the way, my name's Colin.
Really polite, and then I was like, yeah. Good to go. He literally walked out of my trailer and I was like,
I don't know what I'm saying.
that's the lead and I have no idea what he just said.
And you gotta realize Colin's doing all this the hour before he gets to work and the hour after he gets to work.
Yeah.
He's doing 15-hour days. He doesn't, I mean, there's no harder job in Hollywood than #1 on the call sheet, especially a show like this, a 1-hour, episodic. And if he hadn't done that, the show would have been unairable and canceled.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Unairable and canceled
Yeah.
in season 2. It was him, a guy named Grant Rosenberg, who was
Yeah.
also thrown to the
Awesome.
bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who's the script supervisor again? What's her name?
Yeah, her name was escaping me.
Who?
She directed.
Scripted.
She directed.
Oh, Alexandra.
Alexandra. Yeah, the
Amazing.
three of them
Yeah.
saved the show. Didn't get any of the
Yeah.
credit for it. It was
Because we made the decisions by committee, like in 2 beat 1. So like if you came in and you're like, this is terrible, and they said it's actually great, you're like, right, yes it is. Sort of walk away. But if all 3 of us were like, this is a mistake, right? And we'd all agree, yeah, that's a mistake. Okay, all right. So then we'd fix it. That's how we.
We did a lot of that on set, and you really had to keep up because Colin's mind was in overdrive while he was doing Eureka, and you really had to keep up with
His
Colin.
brain works quick.
Yeah, it does work really quick. So yeah, to be an actor on the show, you had to keep up.
Yeah, it's called panic. You'll find your heads will also move quickly. You're terrified.
But nobody cares. Like in season 1, that was the beginning of the internet, and they decided that in addition to shooting our series, we were going to shoot a second series simultaneously for webisodes.
Oh, that's right, I forgot
So
about the website.
Colin was now shooting 2 shows simultaneously. So instead of like eating lunch or going to the bathroom or taking a nap, no, he would go to the second set where there was a whole splinter set shooting another episode of the show simultaneously.
But you had no budget, so you go
Yeah,
from
there was
this like
nothing.
big budget, nice, where everything works, to the webisode where.
There was like they had the wheel that they put the camera in the middle.
Yeah, hold it like this. And
Yeah.
it's like, what am I doing? What is this? Just do it. It'll be amazing. It's like I know a lie when I see it.
It's only a 5-page scene, Colin.
Exactly. Yeah. Shoot.
So the show was really funny. Was there any improv on any of the scenes? Because you're clearly improving right now. So, or was it all writing?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I mean, what we would do is we would come up with alts and things that we could get through ahead of time because we didn't have the time to sort of blow a bunch of takes. We weren't a practical joke cast because we all wanted every take to be great. Usable.
Yeah.
Everything had to be usable.
Yeah, we didn't have time to
We had no
we
time.
blew half an hour on that hilarious gag, and the crew's like, so I don't see my kids for half an hour more because you wanted to do a prank.
Tell a joke, yeah.
So we were very serious about our comedy.
Yeah, it was a high budget for sci-fi, but not for like a network show. So we were doing episodes in 7.5 days, and if there were special effects, and the special effects back then would take VFX would take a half a day at least, and then
Down to 6 though.
Yeah,
We went down to
we did
6
down to
and 5 days.
And then Neil Grayson and I shot with B Unit on the weekends.
Yeah.
yeah, and we have to add some days, but then also the what did I say was taking so much time?
Oh, hold on. Well, I'll throw in. They did this thing where they worked around the union by working full crew, full cast Saturdays.
Yeah.
And then under a different contract, you would do press and promotion on Sunday. Which is shooting commercials, right? So you'd work 7 days a week on different, so you're like, this feels like a trick. That's not legal.
It was a trick.
And it wasn't.
And then as you had whole new writing staffs and teams and the showrunners coming in, the episodes would be long. So we started realizing that we were shoot at least one day an episode, was being cut from, like, what we would actually shoot
Yeah.
would make the episode.
The amount of scenes that never aired that are on the floor is
It's another season, probably.
Yeah, and it's the hardest job you'll ever love.
Yeah.
I mean, you work those hours because you adore what you're doing,
Yeah.
and you just want it to be right.
Yeah.
And nothing worse than, to get a joke that you love, and you're like, this is great, and then you don't seem to be able to do it right on the day. Yo.
You always nail it in the car ride home.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I would have done it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
The show had so many great original ideas, like the Bob Knob episode when they go in that enclosed world and the guy's turning into the lizard creature, whatever. You know, there's so many just original concepts that were played out in each episode, whatever the disaster of the day was. Who was the writing staff, and how did these ideas come up? You know, it was just so great.
They were. I mean, I can't speak to that, but what I loved is I adored getting to play every version of every movie I'd ever seen. We did Journey to the End of the Year.
Yeah.
We did we're playing each other's characters. We did, so we got to sort of do all this bucket list stuff as actors that I absolutely adored. But
Christmas claymation.
that was crazy.
I mean, it was. I mean, yeah, we did everything.
Do you remember that Saturday?
Fencing.
Yes. Was that Noche de Sueños?
Yes.
No, just oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Handsome Spaniard. You
Yeah.
were.
Me and
Erica.
me and Fargo in a duel.
Yeah.
Or,
To win Joe Lupo's love, right?
or Niall and Fargo in that tiny little capsule
Going to space.
Neil had eaten something that gave
Oh,
him
man.
debilitating gas.
You know what? I meant to say something the other day because people were tweeting about that the other day, and Neil was like, "Yeah, we were killing each other with farts." I was like, I wasn't part of that. You were killing me though."
It was a one-sided duel.
He was.
I don't know why you're laughing so hard. There were many cars and excavators and weird tunnels that I was in. You just melted the scenery.
When you spend a lot of time with people,
Yeah.
sometimes odd things make you laugh. No, the writers were amazing about that. They came up with such creative stuff on a regular basis, and it was always fun to see what you were going to have to play and,
It was also
how
such
we
a-
were going to do it.
Yeah, it was like such a diverse group of like ages and everything with the writers, and I feel like every episode was like a surprise. Like you just never knew what it was going to be. So we were like surprised every read through and whatnot as well.
So did you guys end up, as a cast, developing like strategies and tactics for retraining your showrunners every time?
Well, not so much retraining the showrunners, but we had to deal with mostly directors. We became the show that Sci-Fi would sort of offer as like, hey, you can direct a Eureka if you come and do this for us. So we would get these network guys who would come in, and some of them hadn't even seen an episode, so they didn't know the characters, they didn't know the tone, and that was hard. We would sort of give them day one to by noon they'd go, this is a lot harder to shoot than you think.
Yeah,
and by the end of the day we'd be getting them out of trouble, and then we'd all be on the same team.
And they would also, like some of the directors, we had some really big directors who done huge network shows, and they would take the job, and then they would get inundated with pressure from the network like they'd never seen. I mean, these are guys who worked on the biggest shows there are, period.